What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Happy Thursday. Today we have on Martin. He is the lead at the ecosystem development for Nimiq here on the podcast to talk about how Nimiq is the world's most accepted crypto, what that means for adoption in terms of how they're approaching this year in 2025, and some of the interesting things coming up that they're working on. Martin, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on today to talk about Nimiq and a little about yourself and what your guys' trajectory is this year. How are you doing?
Thanks a lot, Brandon. Great to be here. I'm doing well in the middle of a snowstorm, based out of Toronto, Canada here. So we're experiencing the middle of our winter. It's all going well, but excited to talk about the exciting things we have on the slate today. I get excited about adoption. I get excited about what's happening in the markets related to adoption, implementation, and use of crypto. So excited to discuss those things and more.
Excited to discuss it with you as well. Hopefully you're surviving up there in the snowstorm and getting by, as well as the winter that's brewing over the crypto space. It's definitely been quite a roller coaster to start the year, to say the least. But this will be a fun conversation, and excited to learn more about Nimiq. Before we do that, I'm sure people would love to know a little bit more about yourself as well, Martin. What your personal story is, how you got into the Web3 space. I know everyone's got an interesting story and entry point. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in crypto and blockchain and Web3.
Yeah, I would consider myself an opportunist, and I would say I'm an idealist, and that's what attracted me to Nimiq first and foremost. Nimiq is a nonprofit project, a payments coin focused on fulfilling Satoshi's vision of being, direct peer-to-peer L1 crypto payments. Even Elon Musk has said there's room for that in the market, and nobody's really captured it yet. And so when I came across Nimiq, it was very apparent to me that they're a team of insanely smart individuals and builders who are capable of making that happen. So I was super excited to discover Nimiq. But the way that I discovered Nimiq is pretty unique, and it was kind of my entry point into crypto. I had heard about Bitcoin way back in the mid 2000s. I had actually owned a bit of Bitcoin. I'm not too proud to say that I sold at a profit, but if I'd held on to it right now, I'd have a lot more. But essentially, I was a digital marketing entrepreneur. So I traveled the world. I read the 4 Hour Work Week. I was really interested in building a business that I could travel with. So I had a small digital marketing agency, and I was doing a lot of traveling to different countries in the world, hiring contractors in different countries as well. And so I would say that I was a digital nomad, but also like an international entrepreneur. And I think that's important to my crypto story and to helping people understand crypto and the value it brings to society. I think it's caught up right now as an investment use case, and everybody cares about price and tokens and airdrops and NFTs and things of that nature. But I think it's important for us all to realize that it's financial technology, it's fintech, and it enables cross-border payments. And so for me, I was traveling. I had two kind of entry points to crypto. One, I was working in Australia, and I had earned Australian dollars working there legally as an employee on a visa, and I wanted to transfer those dollars back to Canadian when I returned home to Canada after a year. And the Australian dollar and Canadian dollar were at the time just about par. And when I found out the fees involved in moving my money from an Australian bank account to a Canadian bank account, I was shocked. I couldn't understand why it would cost so much to get a number to show up on one screen to another. And it was only months later where I was telling this story to a friend on how much it ended up costing me. They were like, "Why didn't you use crypto?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Tell me about it." And that's when I learned about the value of moving money across borders. Shortly after that, I was and my team is probably sick of, or our team is very sick of this story, but I tell it a lot because it gives people that real world use case on how crypto can benefit them. But I was traveling in Costa Rica, and I was living there in the pandemic. So I was there for a period of 6 months. I wanted to buy transportation. We were in a little beach town called Santa Teresa. So I wanted to buy an ATV, and it was selling for 4,000 US dollars. And so I wanted to buy it off of a girl who was leaving in 2 days. That's why she was selling her ATV. She was from Spain. And I tried to work out a purchase with her. Hey, I'm interested. Looks good. We tested it out. Ready to buy it. She goes, "Okay, can we do cash?" And I said, sure. So I went to the ATM, tried to pull out $4,000 cash, and ATM had a $1,000 withdrawal limit per day. So I'd need 4 days to come up with the 4K. And she said, well, that doesn't work for me. I leave in 2 days. I said, okay, well, let's explore other forms. Like, how about in Canada, we have e-transfers. She's like, no, we don't do e-transfers in Spain. All right, let's look at PayPal. PayPal had, the capability technically to do it, but the fees were insane on $4,000. Again, just to move money from one screen to another, it was insane. And so that's when, so I told her, let me figure this out. I'll get in touch with you tomorrow. This is the evening. I said, tomorrow I'll figure it out. And that night I happened to go out for dinner, and I sat at a dinner table with some friends, and there was a gentleman there who I had told this story to. And I said, I was actually complaining about the withdrawal limits at the bank. And he was saying, well, why don't you just use crypto? And it kind of clued into me. This is the second time in my life that someone said that to me. And I said, well, talk me through it. How can I make this happen? And that person was a core member of the Nimiq team. And so he showed me on his phone, on the spot, at the dinner table, how I could use Nimiq to facilitate this transaction. And it blew my mind because, like I said, I am an opportunist. So not only was I excited to solve my problem here in real time, but I realized the value that this could bring to society. And that's when I said, well, tell me more about Nimiq. And ever since then, I've been a contributing member of the team.
Sounds like it sold you immediately. This is a good solution to the problem too. See, I think you have a really interesting perspective when you're traveling and working internationally. You really get to see the issues with the current financial system of the world, the prices, the friction points, the inability to do simple payments and simple transactions, the AMLs and KYCs. And like a lot of these things are important, but it's like there's too much red tape there. Things are too expensive. They shouldn't be so complex and burdensome. Shouldn't cost me $20 to send money to Colombia. It shouldn't take me 4 days to have a bank transfer go through, in 2025. So, you see a lot of these issues, and I've experienced the same ones you've experienced alongside. And crypto obviously stands out as such a good solution for a lot of these issues in the system. And I imagine, that's something that's a core mission for Nimiq too, right? Wanting to find a way to bring this mass adoption and facilitate payments, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Nimiq definitely sees itself much more than a crypto project. It's financial technology. And by the way, I speak on behalf of myself here. That none of my opinions or comments are a reflection of the project, but that is how we look at things. We think that 95% of the industry is actually harmful to society, and the other 5% are going to change the world. And we like to think that we're in that 5% where we're building solutions that are ready for adoption, that people can use to solve their problems, and will help make the vision of decentralization, self-custody, ownership, anti-censorship a reality.
Let's talk about some of those solutions as well that Nimiq is creating to kind of solve this and bring this mass adoption through crypto to people. I think a good place probably to start with that is actually the Nimiq Coin itself. What would you say are some of the things that make Nimiq Coin stand out, and some of the benefits? Is it instant? Does it have instantaneous finality? Is it cheap? Is it eco-friendly? What are some of the perks to using that versus another token?
Yeah. So the Nimiq team are Bitcoiners at heart. We all believe in Bitcoin. We all love Bitcoin, but we know Bitcoin is currently not sustainable for micropayments. It's a little bit slow, it's a little bit clunky, a little bit expensive. It's much more effective as a store of value, at least right now. And so the Nimiq team originally wanted to fulfill Satoshi's vision that I said of electronic peer-to-peer payments, self-custodial L1. And so Nimiq didn't set out to compete with Bitcoin, but rather it set out to complete Bitcoin. And so Nimiq's tokenomics are mimicked to Bitcoin, but scaled to make micropayments accessible, inexpensive, and feasible for the world. And so we spent the last 7 years now thinking about payments, driving adoption within merchants. Currently we have over 30,000 merchants worldwide where you can pay with Nimiq. But more importantly than that, we've spent so much time researching and thinking from first principles. And what we've realized is that there are three real currency capabilities that people have with their money. first and foremost, you need a store of value. You need a way to save your money in a traditional sense. And like I said, Bitcoin is really proving to be that great store of value for several different reasons. The second thing we found is we spoke to a lot of small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of the world. Almost every economy is made up of like 60 to 80% small business. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on small business, not exclusively, but those are the conversations we've had. And a lot of the business owners say, hey, look, I'm all for the crypto movement. I want to support it. I want to be part of it. Self custody is super important. Decentralization is super important. All these things, no intermediaries. I love it. However, I'm running a small business, running on thin margins. I cannot afford to hold volatile assets on my balance sheet, or else my business could go under. So therefore, they need a stable form of currency. And so I think that's why we're seeing the rise of stablecoins being the first real breakthrough in a payments use case in the world. And I'm hoping we can talk a little bit more about that in this podcast. And so we found that people need a stable coin, stable form of value to transact with. And then lastly, they need a high performance payment coin, something that's instant or near instant, feeless or near feeless, and something that people can buy their coffee with, their groceries with, things of that nature. So those are the three currency capabilities that we feel from first principles people need in their life to live sustainably. And so therefore, Nimiq has created a self-custodial wallet in the browser. So no downloads, no personal information needed. It exists in your browser. All you need is an internet connection and a browser. And the wallet enables the three currency capabilities that I talked about. So we support Bitcoin, we support stablecoins, the world's most trusted stablecoins, USDC and USDT. And then that high performance payment coin is NIM. And the exciting thing about that is we recently migrated from proof of work to proof of stake. So now that high performance payment coin, you can stake and have as like a high interest savings account inside your wallet.
Interesting. This is the Nimiq Wallet, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What are some of the other features of the Nimiq Wallet? I mean, you mentioned Bitcoin, you mentioned stablecoins, you mentioned NIM itself. You mentioned staking in the wallet. Can you do that directly through the browser, or what are some of the functionalities around that? And can you also have that wallet natively on your computer or your phone, or what's the status of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, it exists in the browser. Um, it is all you need is an internet connection and a browser to access it. You don't need to give any personal information. You log in using a login file, so it's not your email address. Therefore, it's true self custody and no KYC needed. Within the wallet, like I said, we support Bitcoin, stablecoins, and NIM. You can swap between the three within the wallet, which is not extremely exciting because there's a lot of wallets that can swap, but it is a core capability and an important thing for you to be able to create a real world where payments are accessible using crypto. You're going to need to swap your assets, and so that's really important. And then there's a couple other really cool key features. First of all, you can stake right within the wallet. All you have to do is look for that little green leaf symbol, which is our staking symbol, and it'll walk you through how to stake in less than 30 seconds. You can also stake and unstake, like I said, if you need to access your currency. So you can do that quite easily. There's a couple other really interesting features. First and foremost, we make it super beginner friendly. So there's not a lot of crypto jargon inside. We do our best to meet users where they are and make this super beginner and user friendly. Therefore, you'll see some features that might be unique to Nimiq, but are really important to onboarding people who don't have a technical understanding of crypto. So first and foremost, inside the wallet, we have what are called identicons. And
Mhm.
identicons are a visual representation of your wallet address. We've all had that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, we've all had that experience where you're so nervous when sending or receiving a transaction that your wallet address is entered wrong, maybe copy and paste. You're having an issue with that, or you're so concerned. So the identicons are a visual representation of the wallet. Therefore, if you change one character of the wallet, which again would, ruin the whole transaction, the wallet will look completely different. Or sorry, the identicon will look completely different. Therefore, it's that second visual representation to make life a little bit easier for sending and receiving transactions.
What does the Identicon look like? Like, do you attach like a photo to that, like a profile photo, or is it more of like a custom username, or what does it look like when you're in the UI of the wallet?
It's a visual representation that's auto-generated based on creation of the wallet. So it is not an NFT. Unfortunately, Nimiq does not support smart contracts. We're built from scratch. We're not ERC20 token, so it doesn't support smart contracts. It is auto-generated, but it's a fun, on-brand, colorful with accessories based Identicon that looks like a bit of an emoji or a character that gives you a very clear representation of your wallet. Like, because I use my Nimiq wallet every day, I have crystal clear image of what my wallet Identicon looks like. So anytime I'm sending or requesting transactions, I can see right away, quick snap of an eye, that it's the right thing or it's the right Identicon, and I don't need to spend too much time reviewing the exact characters of the wallet address.
Okay, I like that very much. It's very frustrating for me to verify those addresses. I know it is for a lot of people, and there was something that was going on recently too, where people were spoofing addresses, and because most people will look at like the first 4 or 5 characters, then they'll look at like the last 4 or 5 characters because no one wants to read the whole thing, and they'll assume that it's the same address. And there's some scammers going around spoofing those. Um, and when people go and copy and paste the wrong one, they get scammed and money goes off somewhere else. So it's a very frustrating process, and I just can't believe that we have this sequential numbers and letters that we're still using, and we're not all using some identifier at this point like you guys are implementing. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And the key thing to think about here, again, just for your audience of builders and people trying to drive adoption in the world, is try to meet users where they are. And if you're working on payments or crypto transactions, the crypto transactions currently are not familiar to people. People are used to using their credit cards. They're used to paying with their debit cards. They're used to paying with cash. We want to make these experiences as familiar as possible. And that's going to drive adoption. That's going to help overcome the education barrier. That's going to make people feel more comfortable transacting in crypto. And those things are crucial for us to keep moving forward on the adoption curve. And with that in mind, I'd like to talk about one other thing that Nimiq does that I think is super important for driving payment adoption, is when transacting with stablecoins, which again we're seeing to be the first real breakthrough in crypto payment adoption. We use USDC on Polygon, and through the OpenGSN network, we've been able to create gas abstracted payments or gas abstracted transactions with USDC. So what is important to note about that is, have you ever tried to show someone how to use crypto and they go to try and send, let's say they're sending some ETH, or they want to send a stable coin that says you don't have enough ETH to make this transaction, or on Polygon, you don't have enough Matic to send this
All the
transaction.
time, all the time.
People are like, what the hell is that? Like, for people who don't understand the industry, they're like, what is that? And that's a really not a familiar experience for people in making payments. And that's a massive hindrance to the adoption. And so we've been able to do gas abstracted payments. So there's no need to acquire Matic separately or support the transaction with Matic. It happens in a gas abstracted way. And so it's really cool technology. But again, just for the builders out there, for the developers, for the people trying to drive crypto adoption, try to think about meeting people where they are with familiar types of experiences. And that's just one example of how we've been able to do that.
Yeah, I think this is an important thing to do, especially in the UI. It's very complicated for people, and one thing that holds back that adoption curve from really, accelerating and people getting in at a more frequent basis is it's just too complicated. One of the biggest issues I talk about is UI with just about everybody that comes on the podcast. It's a frequent issue in the space where we have amazing technology, but it's too complicated for the average person. You want to be able to click something and have it work rather than go through all these steps. And like you're talking about with abstraction, I was dealing with this the other day. I was using a particular wallet, and I was trying to send USDC on Solana to somebody, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have any Solana. So I had to go to another exchange, and I had to exchange Bitcoin to Solana and then send it back to that wallet. Then I found out I didn't have enough Solana, and I had to go back and do it again. It's a process that doesn't need to be that overbearing, and it's quite stupid, frankly, that there isn't a generalized solution for it. It seems like you guys have found a good workaround for that, but I think more wallets need to do what you guys are doing, because or else what's the point in trying to get people to use it if it's too complicated? People can't manage all these little tiny fees and gas prices and having the right coin for the right stable coin. That's just a headache.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's a headache, especially peer-to-peer payments. However, who cares more about this are businesses. And so I'm a marketer at heart and an entrepreneur. I come from a background of small business. And I think the numbers are crazy. I don't have the stat on hand, so don't quote me on this, but for every additional click in your checkout cart, you lose 50% of your traffic. So you talk to any e-commerce business owner, service providers, anyone making transactions online, marketers who are creating these digital marketing funnels or payment funnels are trying to reduce the number of clicks between you adding the product to your cart and the payment being completed. And like I said, so for every additional click, you lose like 50% of your traffic. So if you're a business that's trying to optimize your throughput and optimize your conversion rate, you want to have as few clicks as possible between the user and the final transaction. And so therefore, if we have things like gas or, any exchange process involved or a swap, all those things are additional clicks where you're going to lose conversions. And so I encourage builders and founders and entrepreneurs to think, how can I reduce that? And especially when it comes to crypto payments, how can I reduce that and make more familiar payment experiences?
Quick message from Galileo FX, the world's top trading bot. Galileo uses advanced algorithms, customizable strategies to enhance the efficiency, reduce errors, and operate 24/7 as a trading bot. They're one of the best out there, if not the best, providing a significant advantage over traditional manual trading. Go to GalileoFX.com to learn how you can start automating your trades today and using Galileo. Back to the episode. Absolutely. And that seems like common sense to me. And especially for businesses, which is the other thing I want to talk about with you and some of your solutions and how they might apply very well for a business. Because I know you have Nimiq Pay. I know you have cryptopayment.link, which look like an invoicing solution as well. Can you talk to me a little about some of those Nimiq solutions and applications, and maybe from a business perspective, how they might be really, really beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. So we like to think of Nimiq likes to think of itself as a project who thought of everything. And so I'll explain to you what I mean by that. For investors, for the investor use case, we have a self-custodial wallet with Bitcoin, stablecoins, and NIM. For holders and degens who like to stake, we have staking, proof of stake coin, 14 to 16% APY. I think check nimiq.com/staking. You can see the live real-time APY. So that appeals to holders and degens, traders. For payments, we have Nimiq Pay, which we're going to talk a little bit about. It's like the Venmo without borders or intermediaries. And the cool thing is that we enable so you can pay anywhere that Bitcoin Lightning is accepted as well. So merchants don't need to be already accepting NIM. As long as they're accepting Bitcoin Lightning, you can pay with your Nimiq Pay app as well. We thought about where to pay. We're trying to drive payments, and people are wondering, hey, I have NIM now. I'm excited. Where can I pay? Where can I live off crypto? Where can I, do payment adoption? Well, we have the Nimiq map. If you go to map.nimiq.com, you can see all the locations worldwide where you can pay with NIM. For merchants, for businesses, we needed a way for them to accept crypto. So we created cplink.com. So we'll talk about that very quickly as well. For the environmentalists, for the people who care about the environment and sometimes the arguments against crypto and Bitcoin, we're a proof of stake network now. So high performance, eco-friendly, and that's one of our core values. As I said, we are a nonprofit. So eco-friendliness is definitely a core value of ours. It's something we care about. For adoption, we have all sorts of adoption initiatives that I'll talk about in a minute. On and off ramps, we have some world-leading exchanges like KuCoin, Gate.io. You can buy NIM with MoonPay, Simplex, buying and selling with your credit card. So that's accessible makes the NIM token accessible. And then lastly, for accessibility, every wallet with Nimiq is a node in the blockchain. And so with an internet connection in a browser, you become a node and your transactions are true peer-to-peer transactions. No third parties, no intermediaries, no middlemen. So all of those things make us very proud that we've really thought of everything in the whole payments ecosystem. And all of those things aren't going to appeal to everybody, but we hope that there's something that appeals to everyone based on the things that you care about or the reason you're involved in crypto.
But if you're a business and you want to, like, let's say you have a client and they need to pay you and they want to pay in crypto, what are some of the options through some of those products, like CP Link, for example, or Nimiq Pay, or like what's the best way for a business to interact with a client?
So I think CP Link is an easy one. If you're a small business, let's say you're a restaurant, you want to accept crypto payments, go to cplink.com and set up an account. Takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll be accepting crypto payments with your Nimiq wallet uh, right away. So you don't even need to create a wallet separately. Through that process of signing up with CP Link, you'll create a wallet and you can accept Bitcoin, USDC, and NIM. And so that's really cool because sometimes people can onboard their favorite merchants in real time. So if I'm a person that holds NIM and I'm a crypto enthusiast and I go to pay a bill at a restaurant and I say to the person, "Hey, do you guys accept crypto?" And they say, "No, we don't." And say, "Well, if you go to cplink.com right now, you can, and I can pay you in Bitcoin." And maybe you heard last month that Bitcoin hit an all-time high. And so you're the restaurant owner and you're super excited to hear that, wait, I can get some Bit. So cplink.com is a really cool tool for helping businesses and merchants accept crypto. In the peer-to-peer use case, I think Americans are very familiar with Venmo. Actually, in my story about the girl I was buying the ATV off in the beginning, she said, can we use Venmo? Because I guess she had a friend or a family member who was American and had Venmo. And unfortunately for me, Canadians are not able to use Venmo again because Venmo is an American app. And so we tried to create the Venmo without borders or intermediaries. And that's exactly what we did with the Nimiq Pay app. And so if you download Nimiq Pay on the App Store or the Android store, you can access Nimiq Pay, and it's the same payment experience as Venmo, whereby you're loading funds and then you can send funds and receive funds to and from peer to peer. So that's really exciting, and you don't need any KYC, no personal information to sign up. It's a true, even though the apps are centralized, the access to your assets are not. So technically, in theory, the app could be shut down by an app store, and that's something that the crypto industry has to figure out. However, the app and the process itself, you would never have your it's not censored, meaning if the app store removed the Nimiq Pay app, you wouldn't lose your funds, of course.
Another thing I noticed on your guys' website is you have like this crypto map with all the locations where NIM is accepted. How do you get on there as like a merchant, or are those like generally like NIM merchants so you can see like who accepts NIM? Like if you're going out, maybe looking for a restaurant or a place to eat. I'm just kind of curious. I thought that was a really cool feature to kind of see where you can spend it.
Yeah, the crypto map is available at map.nimiq.com. And like I said, you can see locations worldwide where crypto is accepted or where Nimiq is accepted. And it's crowdsourced as well. So you can add locations to the map if you become a location that accepts crypto and you would like to, in a sense, there's no advertising through the map. However, just by being on it is a form of advertising. So you can attract local crypto enthusiasts by just, adding yourself to the map. And so the reason that's really cool for us is because, of course, if people are going to buy or acquire a payment coin and they want to find places to pay with it, not only that, but there's a lot of people that live as digital nomads, kind of like yourself. You're not living in the country where you're from, and a lot of people want to live a crypto lifestyle. They want to live a digital nomad style of life whereby they're holding different assets. So this is just my own personal view of where I think the world is going. I don't think that crypto payments are going to completely replace fiat currency payments. I just see them as a complementary form of payment. So I think we'll always have cash, like fiat cash. I think we'll always have credit cards because people enjoy the rewards elements of credit cards, not to mention, paying with credit. But I think that your crypto will become another currency capability that will complement your lifestyle. So when you go to travel, rather than go get the local fiat currency of the country you're going to, you will just make sure that your crypto wallet is equipped with the tokens that you need to travel on crypto. And so I think that's a really exciting use case for crypto. And I think that's where the puck is going, at least initially. And therefore, it was important for us to have a crypto map for if you're a person who's traveling to these countries or wants to implement that sort of that sort of behavior, you have a place where you can find out where you can use your crypto.
Absolutely. I don't think, traditional fiat or cash is going to necessarily disappear right away. I don't think it'll ever really disappear, especially with stable coins. I think it actually kind of bolsters the argument that they'll stick around. The CEO for Bank of America just the other day was talking about the same thing. Like they're one legislative bill in the US away from, pursuing all these different things they could do in the fintech space, including a B of A coin or a stable coin. Um, pegged to the US dollar or even a different currency owned by Bank of America. So I'm not necessarily think that it'll just be crypto in the future or not crypto. There'll definitely be an interesting hybrid financial system that exists. And it's cool that you guys offer both of that too, with like the Nimiq wallet and everything. You have that ability to hold stable coins and then hold NIM at the same time.
Do you want to take this time to talk about, sorry to cut you off, do you want to take this time to talk about stablecoins?
Yeah, let's talk about stable coins.
Awesome. Do you follow the All In podcast?
I think I've heard of them, but I don't on a frequent basis.
Okay, I'm an avid listener. I haven't missed an episode since almost since the beginning. Started in the pandemic. I can't advocate enough for technologists or business people to listen to this podcast. It's once a week. They record on I think Wednesdays. They release it Fridays, but it's social currency for me to because I don't work in Silicon Valley. It's very cool for me to kind of get eyes and ears in the valley to hear what investors are thinking about, to hear what builders are thinking about, entrepreneurs, and they do touch a lot on politics as well. So specifically politics, how it affects technology and builders and things like this. So Chamath Palihapitiya, David Sachs, Jason Calacanis, and David Freeberg are the four like co-hosts. They're the friends, they're the besties, and so it's now the biggest technology and business politics podcast in the world. And so when they speak, people pay attention. One of the things they did this year was 2025 predictions. They did it at the end of December 2024. And Chamath Palihapitiya, one of the most famous investors in the world, been on Joe Rogan, early Facebook. He's a billionaire, very, very influential investor. His pick for the biggest business winner 2025, his prediction was dollar-denominated stablecoins. And he raised some really, really interesting figures. First and foremost, he found that dollar-denominated stablecoins became uncoupled from crypto volatility. So what that means is the market is no longer seeing stablecoins as crypto per se. It's a fintech. It's fintech it's not related to all these trading, price fluctuations, things. It's a useful way to transact money and send money across borders. The second thing that he said, and this is mind-blowing to me, was Visa and MasterCard obviously have a bit of a stranglehold on the market and the economy. And I think it was Q2 of 2024, dollar-denominated stablecoins had nearly double the transaction volume of Visa and MasterCard worldwide. And that absolutely blew my mind because of how big Visa and MasterCard are. I knew stablecoins were coming along, and I knew they were being adopted much faster than they had in the past, but I didn't know they had literally doubled Visa and MasterCard. And so, first of all, to hear a person of his nature who's so tapped in to business technology and investing say that, and then also raise the data to support that, I was like pretty mind blown and pretty excited to see that the adoption is happening. We're in the middle of it.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of factors to why stable coins are getting so popular. I think one of it is a lot of these large institutions can do things at scale. And when you see the impact that Tether has had and that USDC has had with Circle and how much money they generate, it's very appetizing to a lot of these large institutions and corporations that can do it at scale and make billions of dollars and save billions of dollars. It just makes sense for them. It's also that seems to be in the pipeline for a lot of them. Again, it's just the US environment from a regulatory standpoint has been very harsh the last few years. And we're just finally now getting a full 180. And I'm surprised the market isn't more excited about it at this point. But you're getting a lot of these investigations and SEC Wells notices, rolled back for a lot of different companies. You're getting a lot of institutional banks come out like JP Morgan, Bank of America, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, saying that they're ready and they're up to date and they want to launch products and they want to do something. They want to have their own chains, but they need legislation to be able to do that. Companies like PayPal have like PYUSD. They're already incorporating stable coins into their product stack, and more companies will start to do that relatively soon. And stablecoins just solve a really big problem with fiat, and that's the latency and the lag and the cost that it costs to use fiat domestically and internationally. Like, it shouldn't cost so much money for a merchant to accept a payment and take 3.75%, send that to the bank, and cut that out of your profit at the end of the day. It shouldn't be expensive to send money overseas to pay a vendor or a contractor for something. Most small businesses can't afford those nicks and knacks on their bottom line on a day-to-day basis. And large institutions, even though they can't afford it, it's very expensive. Banks in particular will save billions and billions of dollars in just those small fees that get added up and getting put back into their baseline revenue. So I think stablecoins will be one of the first things that gets adopted mainstream in terms of what we consider to be crypto. Obviously, it's a coin and it's something that's on chain, but it's not crypto in the sense of Bitcoin, right? It's crypto in the sense that it stabilizes fiat and makes it easier to use fiat. So I do see that coming very, very quickly. And I think, all these large companies and institutions are already behind it. It's just, in the US, when do we get that bill through? When do we get that legislation? And, we're very, very close, and that'll be the first domino to fall. And then it'll be industry specific after that. How can you use blockchain for this and that and whatnot? But that's kind of my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, well put. I think the one thing that you said there that I really want to double click on, which is cool, and I'm not a politics expert and I'm not a, international relations expert, but I think that the US is starting to see that how important it is for them to maintain the US dollar as being the world reserve currency. And, the US dollar is probably the biggest brand in the world. If you think of branding, it's a unique take to think about it as a brand, but they want to keep the US dollar as the world reserve currency. They heard a lot of noise last year about BRICS and BRICS pay and things like that. Countries want to move off the US dollar. But I think for them to maintain their status as I would say, world power, arguably, they want to maintain the strength of the US dollar. And I think what they realize with stablecoins is stablecoins allow people in other countries to have a US dollar bank account. It's essentially the US dollar in other countries. I think Howard Lutnick said that on the Pomp podcast, on his amazing podcast a couple months ago. But I think that's how and why the US is, with David Sachs leading as the AI and cryptos are. I think that's one of the reasons why they're turning around with crypto here, is they realize it's going to actually help them maintain their status and the status of the US dollar as being the world reserve currency. The second thing I want to double click on that I think you said that was awesome is, or I've just actually like to position why what you said is important. And just to put a little plug for Nimiq here, people are realizing the value of USTC, the value of being able to hold it, send it, and receive it. And that's why Nimiq, it was so important for us to integrate stablecoins into the Nimiq wallet, because I think when you start to learn about crypto, if you create a wallet that's on an exchange and you want to receive or send your USDC, USDT using the exchange wallet, you don't realize that you don't actually own that currency, and it's not actually yours. And therefore, you should really look to a self-custodial option if you truly believe in the essence of crypto and ownership. And that's why Nimiq being a self-custodial wallet is such a great beginner option for receiving stablecoins and sending stablecoins when you're first entering crypto.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you guys put that focus too on stablecoins, because I think for the ordinary person or for a small company or business owner or entrepreneur, you need to be able to have a stable balance. The one downfall about crypto is there's very few cryptos, that really go up long term and hold their value. And while there's a lot of great, um, projects and chains out there and things to invest in, it's one thing to invest and to expect something to appreciate over time. It's another to have a strong guarantee that if you put $5,000 into something that'll still be $5,000 in 5 years. Because some people need that. Some people have to have a balance sheet. They got to pay expenses, right? They got to pay contractors. They got to take money from clients, and it's really hard to navigate the financial world if you don't have anything that's stable. So I think that's a really important aspect to have in Nimiq, and to be, up to date on it and make it easy and simple for people to use from a UI perspective, and understandable and accessible. Um, and hence why also, like, you think stablecoins will be really, really big relatively soon and important for this industry. Also kind of leads up to a final question I want to ask, and that's about Bitcoin, because I know a lot of inspiration came from Bitcoin. Bitcoin has kind of evolved over time from being what's supposed to be a P2P payments solution to now like the preferred asset to hold of choice for individuals, for large companies, for governments now. Do you think Bitcoin still has a future as a payment method, or do you think it's completely changed in terms of the way people view it and decide to hold it and to own it?
I don't want to speculate too much on whether or not it'll become a payment method, because frankly, I'm not smart enough for that, and I'm not well equipped to support my arguments. Other than, I mean, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, and I think the most exciting thing about Bitcoin is it's now being approached as a commodity, in my opinion. And from what I'm hearing, some of the pundits and experts referring to, it's more of a commodity, like oil, like gold. Bitcoin in one country is the same as Bitcoin in another country, so it fits a lot of the definitions or characteristics of a commodity. And I think that's an important thing for people to understand if you're new to crypto. Is I think when people hear cryptocurrency, they think currency, therefore they think payment. And I don't think Bitcoin has any interest in replacing the fiat currency or becoming a payment coin. It might become for large transactions, but again, it's much more better to look at Bitcoin as a commodity and as a store of value. Um, so I'm very excited about Bitcoin. I DCA Bitcoin. When people talk about the price of Bitcoin, sure, it can get exciting or down at the same time, but I always just say it should be worth more in 30 to 50 years when I give it to my kids. Like, I don't plan on ever selling my Bitcoin. I think most Bitcoiners are the same way. Um, it's digital real estate. You want to hold on to it. You want to acquire it, hold on to it, store your wealth there. Decentralized asset, protection from, you know, censorship, and I think those are the most important elements. So when considering Bitcoin, I think it's important to decouple it from being an actual cryptocurrency and look at it more as a commodity.
I agree 100%. Bitcoin is a part of my long-term retirement plan for sure. I think it is for most people now.
I mean, this is philosophical, but when you grow old in life, I don't know if yourself or people plan on having children, but there's a lot of schools of thought where your last check should bounce, meaning spend all the money you have, can't bring it with you to the next life. So spend it all, but leave your loved ones with real estate. That's one of the common schools of thought for investors, and the way that people plan their lives. And for me, I see it that way. I will leave I want to have children myself. I will leave my children my Bitcoin. I don't plan on ever selling it. I want it to be a store of value for them as well. And I want, hopefully, for them to look back and say, Dad was a good investor for dollar cost averaging. He left us some real estate and some digital real estate in Bitcoin. And I think that's a cool way to think about life and philosophy around investing in Bitcoin.
To wrap up the episode, I want to know a little bit more about what your guys' plans are here in 2025. The first couple months have been absolutely insane. And I don't imagine that stopping anytime soon. But what are some of your guys' plans for Nimiq this year? Are you guys going to be announcing any new products, anything that users should keep an eye out for? Will you be attending any events or any engagements where people can meet up with you guys and chit chat and learn? What's kind of on the horizon here?
Yeah, I think the most, if anyone wants to take a look at Nimiq right now, the most exciting thing they can do is look at staking. Go to nimiq.com/staking, check out the current actual tally on APY. Not financial advice, but if you want to acquire some NIM and stake it, get familiarize yourself with the experience. It's real money coming into your account every day, into your wallet. And so I think when people realize the value of staking, it's a real obvious reason why to add crypto to their portfolio if you're able to stake it. And so definitely check that out. Our biggest goal for 2025 is to become the world's most accepted crypto. And we didn't really talk too much about it, but with the Nimiq Pay app, you can pay anywhere that Bitcoin Lightning is accepted. So, crypto has a lot of tribalistic perspectives. We found one of the issues was we'd go talk to a merchant, try and encourage them to accept Nimiq, show them why it's in their best interest to do so. And then 2 days later, they would get a person coming from the Bitcoin Lightning community to say, no, don't pay attention to that. You should do Bitcoin Lightning instead. And we said, well, we're in this together. We're both trying to drive the adoption of decentralization and crypto payments. And so let's work together. And so with the Nimiq Pay app, we made it technically possible to pay with NIM anywhere that accepts Bitcoin Lightning. And so users and merchants don't need to know the technical specifics of that, but the merchant doesn't need to have already been accepting NIM. As long as they're accepting Bitcoin Lightning, a person can go pay with NIM and the merchant receives Bitcoin Lightning. So that's a really cool way that we're driving adoption and working together with other projects to make to drive crypto adoption. And so in that regard, we're looking at partnerships and integrations to allow to grow the number of acceptance points for crypto. So we have a mission to become the most accepted crypto in the world. We already are one of the most accepted cryptocurrencies in the world, and we want to explode that number through 2 key partnerships and integrations that we have on the horizon. So can't speak too much about that, but that's the first area of focus for the next 6 months, and that's something where we're placing all of our time. We know our community is going to be super excited about that, and they have that to look forward to.
Awesome. And where can people go to keep up with all of that that's happening? And also, where is your guys' community? Is it on Telegram, Discord, or elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure if you can see my fancy background, but on X is the best place to get updates. That's where we have our largest following, and so definitely at Nimiq on X, Nimiq, and then we have a community in Telegram and Discord as well. We are active on other platforms as well. You can find some stuff in Reddit, but really the Telegram group is the best place. Telegram and Discord are the best places to stay up to date. It's a great place for developers. If you are a developer and you want to check out Nimiq, go to nimiq.com/developers. You can visit our developer center and you can see all the amazing things that Nimiq and the Nimiq blockchain has to offer for developers.
Excellent. We'll put all the links in the description for the episode below so people can find all of that very easy and quickly. Martin, thank you for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure having you on and learning about Nimiq and NIM and all the features that you guys are offering to users and small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I'm excited to see how you guys continue to grow and develop out this year. So keep me posted on everything you're doing, and maybe we can align on another episode later on.
Good times, Brandon. Thanks very much. You could chat your ear off about this stuff all day.
I
appreciate you being a
bet.
good host, and look forward to connecting down the road.
Sounds great, man. Take care. We'll talk soon.